Hey everyone, glad you're back with us here yet another video as we keep our recording rolling here on the Sunday night and roll these out throughout the week. We are continuing in our setup building series, our introduction to setup building here at Area 51. I am Mike Howerton. I am joined tonight by the Admiral, Tracy Rumschlag, as he's going to walk us through the technical part of the video here in the garage. And what we're taking these videos and we are breaking them down, doing them one topic at a time per video, makes it easier for you guys to focus in on the setups and on whatever topic it is we're talking about. Plus, we're trying to keep them short, around 15 to 20 minutes to the longest side there. A lot of them are 15, 16, 17, 18 minutes. And that's where we're trying to keep them. We find that format works the best, and it makes it easier for you guys to digest. We're just keeping them short, one topic at a time. And we are going to cover tonight, and the topic for this video in this particular one is going to be packers. What are they? What do they do? How do you use them? How do you integrate it? And how does it affect your setup when you're on the track? And we've got the Admiral here tonight, Tracy Rumschlag. He is going to go into the garage with you and talk about packers in this video. Before we do that, I just want to mention to everyone, if you have not already, please go down and hit that subscribe button if you're not a subscriber, and subscribe to Area 51 Alien Factory. That would be much appreciated. But if you really want to help the channel out, share this video wherever possible, whether it's on Twitter, Facebook, Discord, anywhere that you can share the video. We're trying to get these videos out there to as many people and newcomers to setup building, newcomers to iRacing as possible. And we're trying to reach out and give a helping hand to those who are new to iRacing and just trying to get started. And hey, also to those who've been out around iRacing for a while. I mean, I've been around iRacing for a couple years. I'm just now starting to get a grasp on the concept of setups and how to tweak them and start working on them a bit. I still can't build one from scratch, but I can start to, after talking to Tracy, my buddy Doug Bell, that was with us for a long time, and several other people we've had conversations, and buddies that I don't want to mention everybody's name here, but they take forever. But I've been paying attention to conversations, paying attention to what they're teaching me, and I'm learning. So even for those of you who have been around iRacing for a couple of years, but you're just now getting into wanting to learn the chassis and how to build setups, these videos are for you. Trying to get these videos in front of as many eyes and ears as possible. So that would be much appreciated if you share the video. We would appreciate it very much here at the Alien Factory. So I don't want to waste any more time in this video, and I'm going to shoot it straight over to the Admiral himself, and he's going to get us started on packers.
All right, drop your beer, grab your gear. The Admiral's here. How you doing tonight? All right, so anyways, we are at Richmond, and that's for the people that really don't want to drive at Coda. But anyways, what I want to talk about tonight are packers, okay? And these cars here, these chassis here, they're different than the truck, because the truck, people coming from the trucks, that's all coil bind, okay? And we don't do that up front here. We have a different package up front. And what we have, and it's kind of creative. I'm going to go back a little bit, give you a little history so people have an idea where we came from and where we are. So for those that drive like the 87 cars that are out now in iRacing, back in those days, all we had was just what we called a big spring. And that was rather be in the back or in the front. And that controlled the movement of the entire car, okay? They weren't quite as aero. We didn't have aero back then. But we did a lot of times is we ran big splits on those cars. It was nothing to run 2,000 pounds, 1,500 pounds on the right front, and maybe 400 on the left. And that's how we got them to handle, okay? Then we got into the Jeff Gordon era, and we got into where those engineers started getting their slide rules going. And they came up with a new package and tried to get the aero going, how to make the car more aerodynamic, get the air out from underneath the car. And some crafty engineer, unfortunately, I can't credit anybody here because I don't know who did it. I think it happened to do probably with somewhere around DEI with Dernhardt, or possibly Jeff Gordon with the people at Hendrick. And I think it was at Charlotte where they introduced it. And anyways, so what we have now is we have big springs in the front, but we have really, really small rates. And the minimum on these cars now are like 300. And the reason is we want that nose to go down to the track, because now we have a splitter, which is just flat piece that goes across the nose at the bottom. And once you seal that off and that air is not going under the car, it actually creates a vacuum and wants to keep the car down. That's why we want to get it as low as we can, seal it off, get the air going around the car instead of under the car. But the problem was we had to, one, make tech. Okay, so these B cars, the minimum ride height is 4.5 inches, 4.500, which is 4.5 inches. We also have 7 inches in the rear. And we discussed the rear last week on how we get around some of that stuff. But so what was done is the engineers found out if they ran a really front, really soft front spring, is they could get that nose down to the track. But the problem was they couldn't keep it off the track. But then somebody decided one day that they were going to run a spring within a spring. Okay, so you had your big spring, which was separate to the whole unit. But what they did is they mounted them on the shocks. Okay, and hopefully Mike can, Mr. Excitement there, can dig up a picture of a shock with a bump spring on it, and we can post it for you guys so you can see it. So what they did is they put a spring, a small spring, which is 4 inches in height. Okay, they put it on the shock, and then to control the height, they put what's known as packers underneath, and they vary in heights. You can have an 1/8 inch packer, you can have a 1 inch packer, 2 inch packer, whatever. We don't quite go that high here in iRacing, but we can go as high as almost like 4 inches total, okay, in packer. And I'm going to show you two things. I'm going to show you how to determine the height of that bump spring. We call it a bump spring or a small spring. They call it a shock spring here in iRacing. Okay, I usually don't refer to it as a shock spring. I never knew it as that, but it's just a mini spring, and it actually has the high rate to it. They're very stiff. Okay, you don't want to fool around with them, that's for sure, because they carry a lot of load in a small space. Sometimes if they break, they can do some damage, but normally they don't. But anyways, how to determine that spring height, okay? And we don't normally need to do this, but I want to prove it to you guys, okay? So we're going to go down here to the packer, and I need to find out what the height of that spring is, and I have no other way of doing it other than this shock deflection number, okay? So keep this in mind. Right now we're at 2.61 inches. That's what we're using of that 7.81 travel, okay? But there's 4 inches that iRacing hasn't included in here. So in reality, it would be add 4 inches to the lower number, okay? So really it's not 261, it's 661. And I'm going to prove it to you here in just a second, okay? So 661 minus of that 781, and you're looking like in 1.2 inches, let's say. Let's just throw it out there and see. But I need to prove that to you, okay? And as builders, you need to know this information, because that's how you need to set the front end. Because if you're not paying attention to it and you don't know this value, your nose will be way off the ground. It will never seal, okay? And a lot of people get lost on this, okay? So we look here, we have a spring rate of 400. This week we're happening to use Craig's setup shop for this example, and I don't believe there's a builder. No, there's not a builder. But if I had to guess back in this time frame, I'm assuming it was the esports pro driver, Matt Busa, I'm guessing, because that was one that he was part of that back then building these. So I'm assuming if I were to give credit, it would be to Matt Busa. But anyways, so
and we're using the old one. I mean, it's like if you look, it's a year old,
yeah,
21 season. So we're not going to
21 season two.
We're not putting out any paid setups from any setup shop that's current. This is an old one, and we want to also give a shout out to people who do cool stuff. And I've already talked about it, one of these other ones, but I'm just going to mention it again. If you have an Amazon Prime subscription, you can go to Twitch, find Craig A. Williams. He's the owner of Craig's Setup Shop, and you can use your one free per month Twitch subscription that you get with your Amazon Prime, because Amazon owns Twitch, and you can apply it to Craig's Twitch channel. When you do that, he links his Twitch and his Setup Shop accounts together, and that gets you a free subscription to Craig's Setup Shop. You don't have to pay a thing if you're already an Amazon Prime subscriber. So that's really, really cool. He's the only one of the setup services or shops I think that does something like that. And so we just want to give him a shout out. And this is like a year-old set, so nobody's gonna get mad if we show you guys a year-old setup. So anyway, back to Tracy.
All right, thanks, Mike. So anyhow, so in previous videos, we've talked about different areas here. So corner weights, that's the wheel weight. If we were to measure that weight, keep this in mind. I don't care about the value, but I want to find out what the difference is on where that packer, where this bump spring here, or the shock spring engages. Okay, so I don't have that value. I got to find it. And that's where we come in as engineers. We need to find this stuff for the driver. So when we make these setups, we know what we're talking about. We're not guessing at it. Well, like I like to say, I'm the magician. Not only am I going to show you the trick, but I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay. So anyways, this value here, so we've got corner weight at 1060. We want 1060. I call it 1060. The ride height, that's the frame height. And we'll round off the number. It's basically 4.5, but it's 4.543. Okay. Shock deflection. Now, this is where you're going to utilize these numbers, because a lot of people look at these, they have no idea what they mean. But this is where you would apply this, is in the shock deflection, how to determine. Because like I said, 4 inches is missing here that you guys don't even know. It's already used. iRacing didn't put that out there, but we're going to show you how it's done. So we've already determined that the bump spring should be 4 inches. So I add 4 to that 2.61, makes it 6.61 in reality, but it doesn't show that. And that means there's 1.2 inches of gap. Okay. So we need to find that out for sure. Now the shock spring, the example that's being used here, 7,000. I'm not worried about that. I just need one in there. Now, when we talked about shock or spring rates and stuff in different videos, the big springs, they come in different families. This one doesn't. This one is purely 4 inches at any rate you use. I don't care if it's 500, 100, 7,000, which is the max we have now. And so they're all 4 inches. So you don't have to confuse that. So we are at the packer we have is 1.188 inches. Okay. And I'm going to have to speed this up a little bit. I don't want to do one click because we know we've got a gap in there, at least 1.2. So just to cheat on it and kind of get things going, I'm going to throw 3.5 inches in here, and I want to show you the change that happens. Once again, keep in mind wheel weight, corner weight. We're only using the right front, so you don't have to look at anything else. 1060, roughly 4.54 on the ride height. This deflection number, I'll get back to it in a minute. Like I said, there's 1.2 inches, but it shows there's more. And I'll show you that. I'll clarify that. We're not touching the spring perch offset at all. We're not touching the spring rate. I call big spring. That's the one holding it up going through tech. And the shock spring 7,000, not going to touch that. So let me go to 3.5 on this. Okay, let me see what it does. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit apply. Now you'll notice that the ride height went from 4.5 to 5.5. So we raised it an inch. Not what I want to do, but I'll show you here in a second. The wheel weight went from 1060 to 1084. So we gained 24 pounds in corner weight. Don't really want that. Now you'll notice, here's the shock deflection number, right? 157 to 550. In reality, that's not it, okay? Add 4 inches here. So this becomes a 5.57 of 5.50, meaning that I have engaged my spring 70 thousandths. And the spring that I engaged is the shock spring rate, okay? That's the one we're using to hold the nose up. If you drive one, this won't pass tech, but if we set it to where it did, the nose would be so far off the track, you'd have no arrow at all. Thing would never grab. It would drive like a truck, really. So we need to find first, is it a 4-inch spring? So let me take some of it out of there. I'm going to take a 1/2 inch out of here. 0.500 I'm going to take out of here. I'll go to 3 even and see what it does. Every time I'll hit apply. Okay, it went down, but it's still engaged. Okay, keep that 4 inch in mind. So 2.04, well, it's actually 6.04 of 6. So I'm still 40 thousandths engaged. So let me take another 1/4 inch out of there. I'll make it 2.750 and see. Oops, a little trigger happy there. Hit apply. Okay, so but remember, we're at 4.54 was the number we're looking for. 1060. Well, still engaged, 20 thousandths, right? This is actually 6.27. instead of 2.27. Well, the travel itself is 6 1/4. So once again, I am 20 thousandths still engaged. Let me take another 1/4 inch out of there, make it 2.500. Hit apply. Okay. Still haven't got to that number, but now we're within 10 thousandths. The wheel weight's correct, 1060. I like that, but we are still engaged by just a sliver. Okay. So let's take 2 clicks out of it, right? 2.375. There you go. There's my number, came back, right? So now we want to make sure if it's 4 inches or not. Let me put that 1 click back in there. Okay. It jumped. Okay. That's how you know when you're engaged and when you're not. That's why I gave you those base numbers up front. The garage told us that. I'm not changing anything, but we use them as a reference point. So at 2.43, I have engaged the bump spring. Okay. I don't really want that because it's going to ride high, but this is how we determine how much we want the nose to drop to get to that where the splitter is level on the track. Okay. So I'm going to take that 1 click out of there because I don't want it engaged. And once again, there we are, 1060, 4.53, 261 of 663. Like I said, there's that 4 inches I was telling you about, but we are not engaged because we're at 661 of 663. Okay. That's how you know the bump spring is 4 inches. Okay. iRacing mentions it in their forums. I'm not sure how long ago, but you as a builder, that will help you when you're trying to determine that gap that you need. So when let's say you're not using Motec, okay, that way you can judge how much gap you're actually using to get down to the track. Okay. If you're using Motec and you're 2 inches off there and you see you're almost engaged, well, you know, I'm going to take probably 1.5 inches out of that packer, lower that gap down 1.5 inches, take that out of there. And that should get my nose down to the track. You don't want to do onesies, especially if you're doing like mock race runs or qualifying runs, because you'll go out there and you probably need 45 minutes if you do 1 click each. So that's why I like doing it in chunks until I hear it hit the track. And one trick I was taught, and this was, I think VRS even posted, but you can change the camera angles if you don't have Motec, and you can actually look at the car towards the front, you know, from the back, I guess is what they call it. I don't remember if it's a chase or which one it is.
It's called rear chase. You're looking
rear
from the
chase
front. Because you're looking from the front towards the back of the car, but they call it rear chase.
So, and then anybody that gets into those cameras, you can actually move them if you're not aware of that. We can cover that another time. But anyways, you can look at that splitter and see if it's actually under the track, under the artwork of the track, I guess I want to call it, if it's hitting that kind of stuff, or if it's 10 miles in the air. That's how we used to do it in the old days. Well, there's some great setup builders that never used Motec that was able to do that. And that's how I learned it. Okay. But with Motec, it makes it just that much easier. Now, obviously, I'm not going to race it at this height because, like I said, it'll be 9 miles in the air because now it's already within being engaged, within 1 click. So I'm just going to cancel it. I'm going to go back to what the original setup was. And that's 1.88. So that's where the setup builder has already went in there. He has done the work for us. Okay. But if you're doing it on your own, this is information that you need to know, because if you're not used to it and you're not familiar with that 4 inches not being in there, you'll never get the nose set. You'll be changing all kinds of stuff. So all we're trying to do is simplify this for you. So when you guys actually get into the nitty gritty of the actual setups, which we are going to in the future, the near future. But right now I want to cover all the working components, how they work, why they work like they do. The left side's the same way. Okay, so when you're doing the left side, same basic deal, same basic components. Okay, and then systematically, I will show you how we go through the front end and set it. And once we have that nose set, then usually it's all driver development stuff after that. That rear spring package, track bar, tire pressures, and that's when you start really getting into how it handles on the track, because the front end, once you get it, usually that becomes your base set and you just take it from track to track to track and go from there. So anyways, Mike, that's what I wanted to cover on that.
All right, Trace. Hey, thanks for kicking it back to me. We appreciate your time in this video on Packers. That was a really in-depth, look at the Packers and that missing 4 inches there that is elusive and can really throw people off. And really appreciate the time you took out of your schedule to come and teach us and our viewers here at Area 51 about the Packers, and really an in-depth video there on the Packers. So really appreciate that. If you've made it this far, we appreciate you sticking with us to the end. If you have not done so, go and click that subscribe button down below and become a subscriber here at Area 51 Alien Factory. Also, if you really want to help us out, the best thing you can do is share this video any way that you can to get as many people that are needing help and wanting to learn how to build setups and get better as a driver and a setup builder, and just get better all around in iRacing, to get this in front of many of those people as we can. So we'd appreciate you sharing our video here at Area 51 Alien Factory. Also tune in. We have multiple series going on right now. We're doing this setup building series, also have a driver development series going on, and we also have a setup shop review series that we're actively in development for right now. Down below in the description, if you want, there's a couple affiliate links down there. We have affiliate link for Major's Garage. We're not trying to push one setup shop over the other. We're not even putting our name behind any of them, saying any of them's faster than the other or anything like that. We just simply had a couple of guys reach out to us and wanted to help us out and help you out, our viewers. Mike from Major's Garage, we worked it out with him. We have an affiliate link there. So if you click on that affiliate link, anything, any subscription that you purchase at Major's Garage, your first month that you subscribe, following that link, we will get a small commission here to help out the channel and to help us grow there from Major's Garage. Also, Jeff Maconi's a nice guy, reached out to us. He owns a setup shop, Maconi Setup Shop, and he said, hey, I want to give your viewers 10% off. So we have a 10% off code down there for Maconi Setup Shop. It's just simply Area 51 with no spaces altogether, and you get 10% discount off all of your single setup purchases at Maconi Setup Shop. Also, if you are a setup shop owner yourself and you'd like to give us a promo code for all of our viewers for a slight discount, I know they would appreciate it. Just get a hold of me and we will mention you in the videos just like we do the other two right now. And we will put your promo code for us down in the description below, also with a link to your shop. So that's open-ended to anyone that would like to do that. I'm sure our viewers would appreciate that very much. So we are so glad that you stuck with us here to the end, and we appreciate you being here for this video. Hope you learned something tonight, and that's all we got in this one. So for myself, Mr. Excitement, Mike Howerton, and the Admiral, Tracy Rumschlag, we appreciate you being here for this video with us and watching it, and we will see you in the next one.